Good morning. My name is Paul Nolan and I'm your moderator for today, along with my colleague Ellie Dugdale, who will be performing the function of timekeeper. You're all very welcome to the Great Agri-Food Debate 2023. Students of food and agriculture and third level colleges across Ireland and the UK are gathering virtually for this, our 8th Annual Great Agri-Food Debate. It's a joint initiative between Dawn Meats and McDonald's, who are proud to be supporting the next generation of business leaders. Our topic today is market economies cannot provide viable solutions to climate change. And it's my great pleasure now to introduce the two teams who are today Munster Technical University, MTU for short, and Northern Ireland College of Agriculture, of course better known as CAFRE. Proposing the motion are the team from MTU. Opposing the motion are the team from CAFRE. And the stands taken by the teams are the positions that they have been assigned by random draw and do not necessarily reflect their point of view. The Twitter handle, once again, is #GreatAgriFoodDebate, and we encourage as much use of it as possible. It's now my pleasure to invite our judges to introduce themselves and say a few words. So we'll begin today with Dan McSweeney. Dan, you're welcome.
Thank you very much, Paul, and good morning to everybody at the two colleges in Munster Technical University and CAFRE. My name is Dan McSweeney, as Paul said, and I'm the chairman of Board BIA. And I'm looking forward to the debate this morning. It's a very interesting and challenging subject. And as always, we look forward to hearing some new ideas and some good views. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dan. And next we go to Cathal O'Connor. Good morning, Cathal.
Morning, Paul. Thanks very much. As Paul mentioned, my name is Cathal O'Connor. I'm very happy to be joining you from AIB Corporate Banking, where I look after food manufacturing and agriculture, along with a few other sectors. But very best luck to MTU and CAFRE today in what will undoubtedly be a really interesting topic for debate. Thanks very much, Paul.
Thank you, Cathal. And now it's my pleasure to introduce you to the third of our 5 judges this morning, Harriet Wilson.
Thank you, Paul. I work for McDonald's UK and Ireland. I'm responsible for agriculture and sustainable food sourcing here. We've had some really good debates so far. I think this is a really tricky topic. So I think we're all going to learn lots from it, but good luck to both teams.
Thank you, Harriet. And now I'd ask Tim Rycroft to introduce himself. Tim, you're very welcome.
Thank you very much, Paul, and good morning to everybody, and good luck to the teams today. My name's Tim Rycroft. I'm Chief Executive of the UK's agricultural levy body, the AHDB, and I'm, of course, fascinated to see the views that are put forward and the challenges that we'll get to today's topic, which is, of course, so much of interest to all of us.
Thank you very much indeed, Tim. And finally, the 5th of our 5 judges, Isla Roebuck. You're very welcome, Isla.
Thank you, Paul, and good morning, everybody. I'm Isla Roebuck. I'm the Business Public Relations Director for Dunbia, and I'm looking forward to a very good debate from the two teams. I wish you both good luck this morning, and hope you enjoy this experience in this, our 8th Great Agricultural Food Debate. Thank you.
Thanks, Isla. It is my pleasure to welcome the teams from MTU and CAFRE this afternoon to debate our topic, market economies cannot provide viable solutions to climate change. And although the rules have been circulated in detail to both teams, I just want to run through some of the key points. And they are, the team captains will open and close the debate and introduce their teammates. Each student's speech will be a maximum of 5 minutes. The time will be monitored by my colleague, Ellie Dugdale, and they will be given the word time after 4 minutes and time up after 5 minutes. Interrupting a student while they're speaking is not allowed. After each speaker, 1 point of information may be offered by the competing team. Points of information are not allowed following the captain's closing arguments. And just a note that the judges are looking for concise and to the point points of information, please. So your work is done. It's time to bring the fruits of your labour forward for this interesting debate, and remember at the same time to try to enjoy the experience. So to kick off, I invite proposing the topic, Ronan McCarthy, Captain of MTU. Ronan, over to you.
Good afternoon, dear judges, fellow debaters and colleagues. My name is Ronan McCarthy, Captain of the MTU debating team. Today we are discussing climate change, the greatest challenge in our generation and for future generations to come. Today we are proposing the motion for market economies can provide viable solutions for climate change. Firstly, I would like to welcome everyone here today at the Dawn Meats Debate, and I hope that motions put forward will provide food for thought for ourselves, our opposition and the wider community. I will soon be an agricultural graduate, and I am a passionate pasture-based farmer from West Cork. I would like to introduce our topic in detail and welcome our respective teammates to the debate. I will define our motion and build a clear picture on the ongoing debate on viable solutions to address climate change. Market economy, that is, an economy without regulations, can have huge disadvantages and knock-on effects to issues such as climate change. With private businesses following laws or regulations can create self-interest and lack of equality, production of undesirable goods, limits to competition, and most importantly, produce undesirable actions hidden by large businesses, such as increased pollution and burning of fossil fuels. A mixed economy refers to a form of economic system with a business and consumers drive economy with varying levels of government intervention. In other words, the laws of demand and supply determine the price and quantity of goods produced on economies. It encourages entrepreneurship and results in greater production efficiency and consumer satisfaction. The extent of state intervention varies from minimum to moderate. It is based on the idea that profit motive of private businesses in trading would promote competition, innovation among companies, and offer greater freedom of choice to consumers. As a result, economic efficiency improves, benefiting the entire economy. When regulations are loose, disaster can follow. Most people understand what is meant by climate change. Recent movements and protests, which are aimed at addressing climate change through citizen action, keep issues forefront in our minds and on front pages. Greta Thunberg is known all over the world for standing up to governments, leaders and businesses. Addressing the United Nations, she once said, "We are in the beginning of a mass extinction, and all you can talk about is money, fairy tales, and eternal economic growth. How dare you?" Climate change can be defined as the rising of Earth's temperatures accelerated by the impact of humans and the burning of fossil fuels. The burning of fossil fuels has been a leading factor to the Earth's temperatures warming up from 1.1 degrees Celsius since the 1800s. A good way to understand how burning of fossil fuels releases greenhouse gas emissions, which in turn affects the Earth's temperatures, causing shifts in climatic events, is to think of it as a massive blanket warming up the surface of the Earth and letting no heat out and keeping all the heat in, putting massive pressures on our ecosystems, shifting weather patterns dramatically. Scientists have proven climate change beyond reasonable doubt. There are signs of changes in weather patterns obvious in most skeptical persons. Scientists also agree that corrective actions improving climate change needs to happen fast. The greenhouse effect is the best way to describe climate change and Earth's rising temperatures. To expand on my earlier definition, I want to refer to IPCC, the Intergovernmental Climate Change. They focus on aiming to reduce climate change around the world. The motion before us calls for solutions to be viable. For solutions to be viable, they must be realistic, capable of having real positive effects on questions which are being asked, with means available under circumstances at hand and accessible. My teammates Amanda, Louise and Anya will go into further detail on these above topics and how market economies do not have viable solutions to help solve climate change. Amanda will discuss alternative technologies and how to attempt at closing mixed economies back into market economies have failed. Louise is focusing in on sustainable actions taken by mixed markets and how agri schemes can help produce profitable products such as sustainable beef on farms, such as Dawn Meats productions and all onto shelves. Anna will close the debate as she talks about how sustainable diets negatively impact on climate change. Climate change is a challenge that may become a catastrophe. Solutions can be found sooner rather than later. Those solutions must be viable, and we will prove beyond doubt that market economy is not one of them. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ronan. And I will ask CAFRE if they have any points of information, please.
Ronan, you chatted about climate change a lot in that speech, but I'm just wondering why market economies can't provide a valid solution to this. Thank you.
So we feel that a market economy it's very close. There's no regulations and laws coming in from governments, and that in turn cannot. Businesses lead in such a way that they benefit themselves. They don't look at the community or the environment. So we feel that that's why market economies do not have a solution, as they are not regulated, and businesses benefit themselves and not the wider community.
Thank you very much for that, Ronan. So, to open the opposition account this afternoon, I welcome CAFRE Captain Joel McCluggage. Joel, over to you.
Good afternoon, Chairperson, adjudicators, to our esteemed judges from Dawn Meats, McDonald's, and well-known faces from within the UK and Irish agri-food industry. Welcome also to the members of the proposing team from Munster Technological University. We look forward to participating in this debate with you. My name is Joel McCluggage, and I am delighted to be here today as the proud captain of the CAFRE team in the Great Agri-Food Debate 2023. For the fifth year in a row, we appreciate the opportunity to participate in an event such as this, and we are even more appreciative to be on the opposing team to the motion that market economies cannot provide viable solutions to climate change. My team believe, know, and will soon show how market economies can provide solutions that are viable for the ever-present threat of climate change. The title assigned to this debate regarding market economies and climate change is one that at first glance seems to have a feeble link between these two concepts that we don't often think of occurring alongside one another. However, let me be the first, on behalf of the CAFRE team, to define what these concepts are and show you how they are not only connected, but in fact reliant on one another for the future prosperity of both our economical and environmental worlds. The term market economy is one that we perhaps unknowingly are participating in on a daily basis. A market economy is defined as an economic system where businesses and consumers are driving the economy with minimal government intervention. The price and quantity of goods produced within this economy are driven by the laws of supply and demand, and there is minimal government intervention beyond taxes and stipulation of regulations. If we are to consider what the opposite of a market economy is, we may be even less familiar with this concept, which is that of a command or planned economy. This economy is under government control, where production is owned by the government, who are also responsible for controlling supply, setting demand, and dictating prices. A market that is somewhat in the middle is that of a mixed economy that we are used to here in the UK and Ireland, with a balance between a public sector but also a welfare state. Now that famous economist John Maynard Keynes will be proud of me with those definitions, I now want to turn to the other aspect of our debate title, climate change and the viable solutions to such. Climate change and contributing factors is a topic that is a constant theme within the agri-food debate, and rightly so, as it seems to be an issue we just cannot find a solution for. The United Nations defines climate change as a long-term shift in temperature and weather patterns that is exacerbated by human activities such as the burning of fossil fuels that then contribute to the production of greenhouse gas emissions. Deforestation, landfills, transport, and industry are the well-known villains in this story, with huge discrepancies between emission levels from different countries. It is well recognised that those who are contributing to the problem need to be part of the solution. And so, the crux of this debate: how can the concept of a market economy possibly be the hero of the story? By the provision of solutions to climate change, solutions that are not just a pie in our greenhouse gas rich sky, but are actually viable, feasible, and be capable of working successfully. Now, Ronan, you state market economies are not regulated. This is utterly untrue. Businesses are regulated and are delivered day in, day out for the environment and also wider communities. Now let me introduce my fellow CAFRE teammates who will be delighted to tell you exactly how market economies are more than capable of providing viable solutions to climate change, despite what the naysaying Monster team will put forward. My second speaker, Orla, by furthering my arguments about the need and want that market economies have to provide solutions to climate change. With all this in mind, I am keen to once again remind you of CAFRE's opposition to the motion that market economies cannot provide viable solutions to climate change. We are intrigued to hear what Monster will put forward for their arguments as to how market economies are not the solution, but my teammates and I believe in the age-old adage that there is no such word as can't, and the market economies can and will provide viable solutions for climate change. I encourage you to join with me in opposing the motion being put forward today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Joel. So MTU, NEPOI, please.
So Joel, he's saying the biggest drivers of global economy is like including the US and Europe, right? So they're saying the biggest drivers of the global economy are market economies, like the US and Europe. And my teammate Anya, she states climate change is going up by 1.1 degrees Celsius since 1800, and it will go up 1.5 in the next decade. And that's showing that as market economies, it's not helping it. Like, market economies have been run for decades and they have not changed it. So if it's going up in 1.5 in the next decade, like it just shows like it is not working.
Ronan, could I just ask what market economies were present in the 18 and 1900s?
Okay, well, that's a rhetorical question, I guess. So we'll take that as your response, Joel. Thank you. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, the topic being debated this afternoon is market economies cannot provide viable solutions to climate change. And to speak on behalf of the opposing team is CAFRE's Orla McGovern. Over to you, Orla.
Good afternoon, Chairperson, adjudicators, esteemed judges and members of the Munster proposition. My name is Orla McGovern and I am proud to strongly second our opposition to the motion that market economies cannot provide viable solutions to climate change. Market economies and climate change are not two separate concepts, but are in fact codependent to ensure the future prosperity of the world we live in. A market economy is a push-pull interaction between producers, suppliers and consumers, with a competitive environment between businesses to deliver a cost-effective product to attract consumers. Now, I do not doubt that Munster are here today to paint the picture of those involved in a market economy as the fat cats within the business world, the anti-Robin Hoods, focused solely on increasing profits no matter what the cost, including the potential cost to our environmental world. They will likely be suggesting that a key solution to combating climate change is an intervention by our respective governments, potentially the first time where the government will be the good guys in the situation. However, CAFRE believe that this is a wishful thinking as another Munster win against the All Blacks anytime soon. We believe that businesses driving their own solutions to reduce their impacts on climate change is a better solution for all involved. The very concept of businesses successfully relies heavily on the four factors of production: land, labour, capital and innovation. These four factors will be directly impacted by the effects of climate change. Therefore, it is in a business's own interest to be productive about reducing their impact upon climate change contributing factors. A recent InvestNI survey shows that 50% of NI retailers say sustainability is much more important than it was 3 years ago. With hyperinflation, energy insecurity, and geopolitical tensions, market economies have been disrupted greatly in the last few years. But this has provided the perfect environment for proactive climate change initiatives and the time to make calculated risks. A simple search on Science Based Targets website will bring up the name Dawn Meats among 4.5 other worldwide companies. This website details how Dawn Meats are committed to reducing Scope 1 and 2 greenhouse gas emissions by a huge 59% by 2030. These self-imposed targets are with the intention of limiting global warming to a 1.5 increase to meet the goals of the Paris Agreement. Dawn Meats are one of many businesses that are not only acknowledge the need to address climate change, but also going above and beyond in their own want to be proactive. As a final year food technology student, I am not naive to the benefits in kind to a company who can show that they are targeting climate change within their supply chain. Eco-labelling claims of a net zero and a low carbon footprint will appeal to consumers to satisfy not only their hungry bellies, but also their desire to be environmentally conscientious consumer. The manufacturer has reported a third of people are actively seeking out products for businesses with strong environmental credentials. And Deloitte have published that 3 of the top concerns consumers have about a business practice are relating to sustainable production, reducing waste, and reducing carbon footprint. Benjamin Franklin stated that it takes many good days to build a good reputation and only one bad one to lose it. By these businesses showing they are self-setting targets above and beyond what the government have suggested, being initiative in their solutions and putting their money where their mouths are, this will surely contribute to a stronger reputation. As Christine Close, WWF International has stated, brands that deliver on pursuit of purpose that drives a culture of sustainable innovation are the front of the runners' consumers' eyes, and they are watching. Thank you.
Orla, thank you very much. And we'll ask your opposing team, MTU, if there are any points of information, please.
So Orla, just going back, you said that businesses over the past 3 years, they're more environmentally conscious. But like for the likes of, let's say, DHL, who are delivery company, yes, they might be changing to more electric vehicles and stuff, but that van is still filled with plastic-filled packages, etc. So have they really been environmentally friendly when they're not really changing much?
Okay, thank you for your point, Anya. So from my own previous experience working in a red meat industry, I've seen firsthand basis that by using bioproducts to feed an anaerobic digestion, looking at the wider picture, this was to enable to power a whole retail factory and cutting out minor costs. Therefore, using these solutions can help and solve the problem of the climate change. Thank you for your point, Anya.
I would now like to welcome Amanda O'Connor from MTU to support our motion.
Hello everyone and welcome to today's debate. As you have heard from our team captain, we are here to show how a market economy cannot provide viable solutions to climate change. I intend to examine some national economies and also to illustrate some of the proposed solutions to climate change are not in fact viable. In practice, some of these solutions are destructive and damaging. Most countries have elements of a market economy, particularly powerhouses such as the UK, US, Japan and Germany. Singapore is an example of an economy that is entirely open. Ireland is a mixed economy as there's great freedom to operate, but there are many rules and regulations in place also. In the UK, Margaret Thatcher tried to get rid of as many rules and regulations as possible in a drive towards privatisation and cost savings. It was an experiment that proved a failure in many ways. The Agricultural Development and Advisory Service was privatised along with British Airways, British Steel and others. In March 2020, the Cambridge Journal of Economics concluded, there is no evidence that this privatisation led to efficiency gains for the British. When it comes to any issue, there will always be viable and unviable solutions to help with the problem. Climate change has been a big topic for discussion in the last number of years. Many ideas and opinions of what Ireland needs to do to tackle climate change have been discussed numerous times. Targets have been set in Ireland and have not been met. Ireland missed the 2013 to 2020 EU targets for greenhouse gas emissions. At present, the need for hitting these targets in years to come is going to be crucial, and farmers play a big role in that also. Electric cars are not a viable solution. There are a number of reasons for this. Firstly, they're not suitable for rural Ireland, and I'll explain why. I live near Listowel, a town in North Kerry, where they have 3 electric charging points. What if all the charging points are full and you have somewhere you need to go? What do you do then? It has been announced by the European Parliament that from 2035, there will be a ban on the sale of new diesel and petrol cars. Local TD Michael Healy-Rae does not believe that the infrastructure will be in place within that timeframe. Electric cars are being encouraged because we are told that they are good for the environment. But are they really is the question. According to a study published by the University of California just last month, that electric cars pose a big threat to the environment. This is because there is high demand for lithium, a vital mineral needed to produce electric car batteries. This could result in water shortages and environmental destruction. The US could require 3 times more lithium to what is being produced in the world. Can you imagine the demand when we are told to use electric tractors, forklifts, and so on and so forth? Other unviable solutions include public transport in Ireland. This has always been an issue. It's fine in Dublin City where you have multiple modes of transport at your doorstep, including the Lewis, bus, taxis, trams, and so on and so forth. Where I live, if I wanted to go to Tralee by bus, I would need to be dropped to Listowel, a town 10 minutes away from where I live. If I want to get a train to Dublin, I would need to be dropped to Tralee, a half-hour away. Trains have been found to be the most environmentally friendly way of travelling. The only downside with them is that they're expensive, very expensive. Incentives should be brought in to encourage more working class people to use trains over flying. No viable solution to the challenges of climate change can take place in isolation. It will take cooperation, inclusion, and involvement of all stakeholders. Think local, think global, act local is the key message here. The community of Ballyhora stretches through counties Cork and Limerick. They pride themselves as a sustainable energy community. Through this, they work with local farmers and farming organisations in the AgriGas Grid project. The project seeks to accelerate a practical scale of farm-based anaerobic digestion as a route towards decarbonising agriculture practices and producing a sustainable energy fuel. This is the kind of community-based cooperative action that is needed to create a viable solution for climate change. There is hope, as there is many viable solutions to help tackle climate change. For example, improving breeding of livestock through EBI and the Eurostar index. This could lead to better production levels from these animals, and for beef, higher carcass conformations. Feeding animals a better diet, utilising grass more, testing silage quality could lead to reduction in ration given. For beef farms, slaughtering animals in an earlier age is good for the environment. Soil sampling during the winter to know what fields are lacking in potassium, phosphorus, pH, lime, and so on. This is important in relation to fertiliser. Nitrogen fertilisers are one of the main causes of greenhouse gas emissions from agriculture. Last year, fertiliser prices nearly tripled what they were the year before, leading farmers to cut back on fertilisers and use alternatives such as slurry. Low emission slurry spreading equipment is good for the environment. With COVID-19, everything as we knew it shut down, bar essentials such as shops, hospitals, and farms. Ireland's greenhouse gas emissions reduced by 3.6% in 2020. This shows agriculture is not fully to blame for our emissions. We're seeing record global events, storms, flooding in New Zealand, flooding in Germany last year, more storms in Ireland during the wintertime. My team members and I are not climate change deniers. We recognise and appreciate the challenges facing agriculture, food production, and society. These challenges can only be met by viable solutions in a regulated economy. And just a point of reference for the speech before me, nobody's denying the commitment of these companies such as Dawn Meats, as they are producing sustainably.
Thank you very much, Amanda. Do we have any points of information from CAFRE, please?
Amanda, you said there that the electric cars, there's not enough places for them to charge up. Well, the Henderson Group in the future have put focus alongside petrol stations such as Maxwell to put in more charging points across various stations in the country.
Thank you so much for your question. Where I come from, I live in rural Ireland, and I've heard of stories where people, there's no, let's say if you live in the middle of absolutely nowhere, you're a half hour plus away, you're middle of nowhere, rural Ireland, where there's no petrol station, no facilities, that's fine doing that. But like if there's no facility such as a petrol station within a radius of where you live, how is that going to help? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Amanda. And so we move to our next participant opposing the motion, market economies cannot provide viable solutions to climate change. We have from CAFRE, Conal McCaffrey. Over to you, Conal.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, judges and members of the proposition. My name is Colin McCaffrey, a proud sheep producer from County Antrim. As a young aspiring farmer who currently benchmarks my own farm carbon footprint and uses market-delivered greenhouse gas mitigation solutions daily, I will now take you on a journey from farm to fridge, outlining the many solutions that market economies have and can further deliver against climate change. Such solutions, the proposition will not tell you, are directly the result of market economies. To hold global warming below 2 degrees by 2050, we need collaborative, wide-scale adoption of many scientific mitigating innovations. It is businesses and global economies that are best placed to deliver such actions. I intend to present a wide array of solutions, the kind of solutions that would make Sir Lord Alan Sugar take out his chequebook and invest in. Energy is consumed across all economies. In our agri-food sector, it is used on our farms, in processing, transport, retail, and within our households. Renewable green energy has many product options, from solar panels, wind and water turbines, to hydrogen gas that can meet the needs of many different consumers or businesses. As the saying goes, money talks. To date, the European Bank has signed €36 billion in green investments and financed over 2,000 green projects, expected to reduce carbon emissions by 104 million tonnes annually. So I reckon it's safe to say this is a growing market. One solution I'm bringing to the boardroom is renewable solar hydrogen panels, currently in development in KU Leuven in Belgium. Such panels can produce 250 litres of hydrogen per day that can help businesses reduce fossil fuel use. We cannot forget about the soil below our feet. Globally, it is estimated that agriculture land can sequester over 1 billion tonnes of carbon per year. With over 1 million hectares of land farmed in Northern Ireland, we have this great resource to sequester carbon and offset greenhouse gas emissions. Regenerative solutions from minimum tillage to multi-species swards can cut nitrous oxide emissions by 50 to 60% farm level. These solutions can deliver for many sectors, from sheep, poultry to dairy. Additionally, a farmer-led European Innovation Partnership project, ARC0, is in operation, is placing greenhouse gas data measuring and management at the heart of 6 Northern Irish farms to demonstrate how selecting the right genetics, nutrient inputs, sward types and technologies such as LiDAR to measure carbon flows can help empower farmers to make positive change towards carbon zero farming by 2050. Agriculture generates nitrous oxide, methane and carbon dioxide emissions. Teagasc is currently in its CO2 abatement cost curve for Republic of Ireland farmers outlines numerous options to cut on-farm emissions, from genetics to feed additives to fertiliser type. To help deliver these options, science and market innovations such as low emission slurry spreading equipment, protected urea to genomic testing has been delivered. The implementation of such solutions can help to reduce mature cow size, improve milk yield, fertility and cow longevity, while lowering carbon dioxide emissions by between 9.8 and 22%. Our sponsors Dawn Meats exports to 48 different countries worldwide and are demonstrating firsthand that selecting the best genetics and operating sustainable grassland systems can reduce the age of slaughter by 1 month and lower the carbon footprint of the beef produced at their Newfoot Suckler farm in Athenry. The showcasing of such positive results to their 16,000 beef suppliers can help to drive real change. Research from the Journal of Dairy Science shows the use of anti-methogenic 3-NOP feed additives and seaweed additives have a high potential in inhibiting enteric methane emissions in lactating dairy cows. 3-NOP, when fed as part of a total mixed ration, can reduce methane emissions from dairy cows by between 22 to 35% and increase feed efficiency by at least 4% through the increased production of milk fat or protein. Key players in the market have demonstrated that promoting greater resource efficiency is the key driver to reducing direct and indirect emission outputs. Take ABP, for example. The Ellesmere site is the first carbon neutral certified beef production facility. This site is 000 rated, zero waste landfill, zero net carbon emissions and zero net water usage. But government policy have delivered these innovations alone. Focusing on efficiency has driven these changes, where the site generates its own heat, power from biofuels and refined tallow products from its beef processing operations on site. I believe these market solutions can and will deliver in our battle against climate change. Thank you for listening to my speech.
Thank you very much, Cathal. And I wonder if we have any points of information from MTU, please.
So you were on about solar panels. So high effective solar panels, the best of the best. They're unable to convert 77% of sunlight that hits them to convert them into energy. Along with that, a fact is that they only live for like 20 years. So in our lifetime alone, we'd have to change 4 solar panels, which are quite not cost effective at all. So thank you.
Well, across the lifetime of a solar panel, if it has fit the last 20 years, if it does have to be replaced, I'm sure the difference in emissions compared with the components that have to be replaced in fossil fuel power plants, I'd say there's quite a gap, and another thing is, I'd say as more and more research and investment, such as the 36 billion invested by the European Bank, is put into such renewable energy, the longevity of such products will be increased, and therefore the lifespan of these products will get more and more as time goes on. I have no doubt in that.
Thank you very much, Conal. And so to propose the motion, market economies cannot provide viable solutions to climate change, we welcome Louise O'Dowd from MTU. Louise.
Good afternoon. So market economies can't provide viable solutions to climate change. That is the motion before us today. Conal previously talked about government policies in combating climate change, but by definition, in a market economy with major shaping of direction of economic activity through policy is no longer a market economy. My teammates and I are convinced that viable solutions to climate change can only be achieved when there are regulations in place and the means to ensure compliance with those regulations. Much of our focus in this debate is on the agri-sector. New legislation is in place and, according to the official EU website, paved the way for a fairer, greener, more sustainable agri-sector. This is approved by a more performance-based CAP. Sustainability underpins this legislation. Like the Shamrock, there are three key parts to this. Agri-food being profitable throughout economic sustainability with broad-based benefits for society, social sustainability, with a positive or neutral impact on the natural environment, environmental sustainability. The fact that Ireland is under the EU, we are really directed for a more environmentally efficient and productive food production system, which is supported by CAP. The new CAP, for example, seeks to ensure a sustainable agriculture with respect to economic, social, and environmental aspects. The CAP currently offers farmers a number of ways to contribute to our climate and environmental ambitions. 3 out of 10 of the CAP's specific objectives directly concern the environment and climate, covering climate change, management of natural resources, and biodiversity. Taken as a whole, the CAP's objectives will cover 3 dimensions of sustainability: environmental, economical, and social. The agri-environmental CAP schemes will help support farmers to make improvements to their farms, which will contribute significantly to achieving improved biodiversity, climate, air, and water quality outcomes. These are viable solutions to climate change, driven by regulation, not the market. Beef and sheep farming in Ireland are part of our culture. Without the direct payments, these uneconomical enterprises would have no future. The countryside would become desolated. Through direct payments, each year, farmers will select annual schemes they want to participate in and select which actions that they will carry out on their eligible hectares. In beef and sheep farming, these payments have accounted for close to or above 100% of average farm income. Positive effects on the environment of direct payments regimes are important issues in assessing the overall benefits to Ireland from the operation of the Common Agricultural Policy. To give an example of one, the Green Direct Payment supports farmers who adopt or maintain farming practices that contribute to EU environmental and climate goals. Through greening, the EU rewards farmers for preserving natural resources and providing public goods which are a benefit to the public that are not reflected in market prices. EU countries have to allocate 30% of their income support to greening. Farmers receive the Green Direct Payment if they comply with 3 mandatory practices that benefit the environment. To give an example, crop diversification, which is having the greater variety of crops, which makes soils and ecosystems more resilient. Maintaining permanent grasslands, as grasslands support carbon sequestration and protects biodiversity, and also dedicating 5% of their arable land areas beneficial for biodiversity. It is evident that farmers will not make a profit and rely heavily on supports from CAP and other payments and supports. With CAP, it certainly gives a stronger position for farmers in the marketplace with improved rules on competition. Limited exemptions from competition law will be expanded in a well-targeted manner, which will allow farmers to work together to strengthen their position in the food supply chain. This includes derogations for agreements, setting higher sustainability standards, as well as possibilities for supply regulation for food subs with protected geographical names. To conclude, it is clearly obvious that without the supports that we have to produce food in Ireland, it would not be viable to mitigate climate change. Alternatively, if Ireland was not a member of the EU and subject to its rules and regulations, we would be in an open market. We would have no support or funding to modify farming practices for the better of the environment and climate. But fortunately, we do have these supports to provide viable solutions that are socially, economically, and environmentally sustainable. Thank you for listening.
So thank you very much for that. And have we any points of information from CAFRE, please?
Louise, you were given information about the different CAP schemes, but where's your resources for these CAP schemes? Thank you.
CAP is funded by the government, so the resources are given to the farmers when they select which schemes that they want to participate in. They are then given supports financially to contribute to these practices, which will then benefit, in turn, benefit the environment and be beneficial for the climate. Like I said, crop diversification and maintaining permanent grassland all enhances biodiversity, and this is encouraged by the government through these financial supports, whereas in other countries where they do not have these supports, they're more than likely not going to take on these practices, which in turn will affect climate change and not make so much as a difference as fast as EU countries can with the regulations that they have in place. Thanks for your question.
And thank you, Louise. My, how time flies when we're enjoying ourselves. We're now reaching that point where we'll hear from the fourth and final speaker opposing the motion, market economies cannot provide viable solutions to climate change. Katie McFetridge from CAFRE. Katie, over to you.
Good afternoon. You can either be part of the solution or you can be part of the problem. Appropriate words from today's debate from the author and political activist, Mr. Cleaver. When discussing climate change, businesses within our agri-food supply chain will acknowledge that they fall into both parties. Yes, they are part of the problem, but we, the opposition, firmly believe that these same businesses can be the solution as well. As Connell has previously outlined, a variety of climate change solutions are being successfully implemented right across the supply chain. As I see it, the question of this debate is why? Why are these businesses being encouraged? Why are they being proactive in their climate change initiatives? What benefits exist for the market economy self-setting targets without forced stipulations from the government? To coin a phrase, if something isn't freely given, it's not worth having. We, the opposition, believe that unless something is done fairly and voluntarily, such as climate change solutions being carried out by businesses, then it's not worth doing. Proactive schemes such as the Science-Based Target Initiatives, the Race to Zero, and B Corp certification already provide that we won't need to wait until we're told to do what in regard to climate change. I am proud to say that our agri-food businesses are already on the ball in this argument. The Climate Change Act is 15 years old. The net zero by 2050 target is well known. And credit to where credit is due, the first, second and third carbon budgets have all been met with reductions in 35% below the base year. However, we all have heard the phrase, pride comes before a fall. The fourth and fifth carbon budget schedules between now and 2032 are not on target to be met. A key factor within the Climate Change Act was that budgets were to be achieved in the most economically beneficial manner. What could be more economic than businesses, not governments, carrying out the grassroots activities to meet targets? Let them decide on how best to invest their own time, money and efforts into creating the solutions that Connell has already presented. Let's be clear, we are not saying that market economies will be a law unto themselves. What we are saying is that with a certain level of government guidance and liaison, businesses are more than capable of deciding how best to reduce their impact on their environment. An excellent example of this sits only 5 miles down the road from our Lockwood campus in Cookstown. Dale Farms Dunmanbridge has a 37-acre solar farm that powers their cheddar cheese production plant, thereby reducing its carbon footprint by an impressive 20% and securing a further 20 years of green energy for the business. Is that not impressive? And a proactive business taking charge, mindful of its rolling targets, aligned with the United Nations sustainable goals of increasing energy efficiency and the use of renewable resources. And before the proposition come at me for providing just one example, if I had more time, I could quote plenty. Not at least my own work experience with another dairying company, Lakeland Dairies, maximising the benefits of renewables and recently commissioned liquefied natural gas station in its CAFRE plant, paving the way for the replacement of heavy fuel oil with liquefied biomethane, reducing its carbon emissions further. 2 examples from just one sector proving that the proposition that market economies can provide viable solutions to climate change albeit at a cost. There are costs associated with carbon pledges. We know this. Our monster opponents may try to undermine my argument with a POI like, where's the money coming from to deliver these initiatives? I can quote global brands like Amazon's $2 billion climate pledge fund to be carbon neutral by 2040, or bring it closer to home, Kerry's group pledge a €6 million dairy sustainability programme. That being said, we know that if you're not if you're in the red, you can't be in the green. That businesses need to be realistic with the climate change initiatives that they can and cannot afford to make, but they are trying, and that's what this debate hinges on: viable solutions. I'll finish by reminding the proposition of their own university slogan, "Succeeding Together." Viable solutions to climate change lie in a certain level of government guidance and support to businesses who are successfully making their own climate change solutions. Government and businesses working together, business to business succeeding together, that is where I believe the real viable solutions to climate change will be found. Thank you.
Katie McFetters, thank you very much. Do we have a point of information from MTU, please?
There is solutions that are viable solutions, but they're not cost effective. At the end of the day, they might just be ideas, but when they hit the ground running, they don't really work. Along with that is, you mentioned that if it was left up to businesses like that, they would eventually do it. But what's the point of waiting for them to do it when the climate is falling from around us? Thank you very much.
As I've already gave 2 examples of sites that are already doing it, this is not them waiting about, this is them being proactive, and they are making a change. So the likes of Dale Farm have now powered their own site. So I do believe that factories and companies are being proactive in the fight against climate change, and they're not just sitting and waiting about. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Katie. And so we come to the final speaker on behalf of MTU, proposing the motion, "Market economies cannot provide viable solutions to climate change." We welcome Anya Poff. Anya.
Thank you very much, and thank you to CAFRE for putting up a good debate today. It is clearly evident from the points that my teammates have made, Ronan, Amanda and Louise, that market economies cannot provide a viable solution to climate change. The Eat-Lancet Commission on Healthy Diet from Sustainable Food Systems suggests a substantial changeover to a more plant-based diet worldwide. In this diet, we see an emphasis on legumes such as dry beans and fruits such as avocados. This is simply not viable in a country like Ireland, as the suggested foods require warm, humid climates to grow. Because of this, many of the foods that are imported are greatly contributing to climate change due to food miles. Food miles, as defined as Engelhout et al., as the distance food is transported from farm to fork. An avocado coming from Peru to Dublin travels 9,849 kilometres as the crow flies, with the fruit being taken from farm in a truck to the airport, where it will spend 12 hours and 45 minutes on a plane, with the alternative being 33 days on a flight or ship. This will emit over 1 ton of carbon dioxide emissions on this one-way flight. A study carried out by the United Nations Development Programme showed that 64% of adults agreed that climate change was a global emergency. Yet avocado consumption increased by 18% in Ireland from 2018 to 2021. We have an ample supply of red meat readily available in Ireland, so this does not need to be added to food miles. Globalization of the Irish food plate has resulted in the reduction of potato production nationally and the importation of 60,000 tonnes of potatoes per year, according to the CSO. This is just some examples highlighting that market economies cannot provide a viable solution to climate change, with people prioritising their health and their taste preferences over the climate's health. Additionally, increased demand for these aforementioned products contribute to the practices associated with climate change, including deforestation. Rainforests are a crucial fight against climate change as they act as carbon sinks which soak up greenhouse gases. As many as 20,000 acres, an area of more than 15,000 football fields, are converted from forests to avocado plantations per year. Such Eat-Lancet diet recommendation foods use enormous amount of water to grow. One almond uses 1 gallon of water to grow. According to the World Economic Forum, around 9.5 billion litres of water are used daily to produce avocados. Considering all this evidence, I fail to see how plant-based diets in the market economies are a viable solution to climate change. Without the production of meat in Ireland, as suggested by this diet, Ireland would have a significant loss in income. In 2020, exported beef totaled a value of 2.3 billion. With this, the market economy would struggle to stay afloat if they were to actually prioritise climate change solutions. For a small island like Ireland, it is not viable to simply strip away a large income without a foolproof solution to climate change, which as of right now does not exist. If we were to reduce our intake of meat, this would significantly increase the prevalence of nutritional deficiencies that already exist as we see in our national nutrition surveys. This will result in poor health in the population and a total lack of regard to the United Nations Sustainability Goal number 3, good health and well-being. That doesn't sound very viable, nor does it sound very good to the environment. Food waste is a huge contributor to climate change, with it generating 8 to 10% of global greenhouse gases. Food waste refers to food that is fit for consumption but is discarded at the retail phase or the consumption phase. A big contributor to this is imperfect fruit and veg. At the end of the day, a misshaped carrot still tastes the same as its picture-perfect counterpart. Starting just last month, Lidl launched a Waste Not campaign offering 5 kgs of fruit and veg for €3, in the hopes of saving over 950,000 kg of food waste annually. This is a great step. However, why is it only begun now? Why is it only one supermarket chain in the whole island of Ireland taking part in such a big campaign? And why is economic intervention needed in this small step to address climate change? Finally, as mentioned by Ronan, global climate has risen from a total of 1.1 degrees Celsius since 1750, and this is expected to increase to 1.5 degrees in further decades, as found by NASA. With all this valuable, clear, concise points made by me and my teammates, we fail to see how market economies can provide a viable solution to reverse damage done to the climate already and to prevent future climate change. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Anya. And I wonder if we have a point of information from CAFRE, please.
Anya, if you've given us a lot of international examples, but if you bring it back to home, if there's no market economy, who is going to feed the population?
The demand is there. The demand will always be there. As I've said, that the consumption of avocados has risen from 18%. So that is in Ireland, that is looking at us. So all these are very related to Ireland. We're still importing, like I said, that there was 17,000 potatoes were imported. So it is very relevant to Ireland. So yeah, thank you.
And thank you for that, Anya. And so we come to the closing remarks from our captains. We will have the opposition speak first, followed by the captain proposing. There will be no points of information after these, and no break between the two captains for judges' time. So it's my pleasure now to call on opposing the motion, CAFRE Captain Joel McCluggage.
Chairperson, adjudicators, judges, and members of the Munster proposition. For the final time today, can I remind you of CAFRE's opposition to the motion that market economies cannot provide viable solutions to climate change. I think by now, myself and my teammates have made it exceedingly clear how businesses involved within a market economy have the need, the want, the capability to deliver viable solutions against climate change and hold global warming below 2 degrees by 2050. This is not the first rodeo for market economies. In 1990, it was market economies that delivered solutions to reduce sulfur dioxide emissions by 43% over a 10-year period after a cap and trading policy was introduced in the USA, demonstrating that markets can and do deliver solutions. I simply cannot believe that there are any businesses out there that are involved within the agri-food supply chain who do not want to be more climate friendly. Between Orla, Connell and Katie, we have highlighted why it is as much a concern for any stakeholder acting within the free market as it is for a government competing to have the greenest policy. By businesses not acting in climate change, they will lose profits, customers, investments, and limit economic growth. And that doesn't sound like a good business plan to me. Ronan, you mentioned our great climate activist Greta Thunberg. With respect, we are not here to talk about influencers. We are here to propose how market economies can deliver viable science solutions, such as those researched and promoted by Professor John Gilliland, the leader of Arc Zero. As a proud sheep farmer and rugby player, I know the importance of a good business and game strategy to achieving a great win or a profit. Our agri-food economies can and are delivering viable solutions and strategies to climate change. Conal, my teammate, has highlighted many viable solutions that can be implemented to cut emissions, save costs, and deliver for an ecosystem services. Amanda, you state solutions delivered by markets are destructive and damaging. Can you explain how regenerative practices and multi-species swards to the use of LED lighting in which both McDonald's and Dawn Meats implement in their supply chains are harmful? Louise, yes, policymakers set the targets, but these targets only act as an incentive to stimulate innovation and the development of viable solutions that businesses in market economies then deliver. Or do the shamrock-loving proposition believe politicians like Simon Convey or Boris Johnson are the ones who develop solar technology or feed additives? I think not. We are facing the biggest ever generational change in the agri-food economy since we went from horse to tractor. When I look forward to 2050, will Ireland be producing lamb in a net zero industry? It will be the use of renewable, regenerative practices, technological efficiency, solutions that will ensure I can reform resiliently against economic pressures and help feed a global growing population of 10 billion people sustainably. We, CAFRE team, have shown you that businesses involved in a market economy know not only the why they should be providing solutions to climate change, but also can provide viable solutions. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Joel. And finally, I want to hand over to the proposing captain, Ronan McCarthy from MTU. Ronan.
Good afternoon, everyone, and I'd have to congratulate CAFRE and everyone involved in such an extremely good debate. Strong motions put forward, but I seriously do believe that what myself and my teammates have put forward are proving without doubt that market economies can't show viable solutions for climate change. Nobody is denying the commitment of companies such as Dawn Meats to sustainably and reducing greenhouse gases. Orla, you mentioned cost-effective products within the economy. However, importation of these so-called low-cost products is not viable. The food miles are the food miles, as my teammate Anya previously mentioned, are severely damaging to the environment and overall to the climate change. Viable? I don't believe so. We would like to thank. So I feel, and my teammates, we've discussed that CAFRE's points, you all mentioned government in your speeches. Conal, you mentioned that the government brings in laws and regulations that businesses follow. Businesses follow these. That's like, to reiterate the definition of market economy. Market economy is an economy without regulations. But she always brought in some bit of a regulation and brought in the government. Bethany pointed out that companies like Maxwell are increasing the number of charging points to support electric car usage. Electric cars are not a viable solution. A news article by Mitch Dacre states lithium-ion batteries contains metals such as cobalt, nickel and manganese, which are toxic and cannot contaminate water supplies and ecosystems if they leach from landfills. Conal, you mentioned a lot about government policies bringing legislations on targets with agriculture, and you are a very proud sheep farmer, and I am a very proud dairyman, and I strongly agree with what you said. But you gave an example of 000 production on farms and acknowledged that this is with the help of government policy. However, by definition, a market economy, again, is without regulation. So ye are talking about a mixed economy. Conal took us on a journey from farm to fridge. However, my teammate Anya pointed out the cost of this journey to our climate, as I've already spoken about. Katie, Katie has identified that viable solutions exist, but come at a cost. We at MTU, and we are all very proud MTU students, recognise that solutions that are too costly are not viable. As I have stated, viable solutions are solutions at hand and are capable of being done. This comes down to finance. So again, I would like to thank the opposing team, Dawn Meats to McDonald's, to everyone involved in this debate, and I would strongly hope that ye listen and take on our points that the government cannot be involved in a market economy where businesses do not hit targets, as we have all greatly discussed in detail. Thank you.
Thank you indeed, Ronan. What I just want to remind everybody online is that the results of our debates will be announced this Friday coming, March the 10th. And on Friday, we will be announcing the best speaker in each of the debates. We will also be announcing third place, along with first and second, based on their combined scores. And they, the first and second teams, will, of course, be heading to London for the grand final on March 28th. So we look forward to hearing all about that on Friday. I'm going to wrap up. I want to just again thank CAFRE and MTU for an excellent debate. I want to thank our judges who give so generously of their time, to the sponsors, Dawn and McDonald's, and to my timekeeper, of course, Ellie Dugdale, who I think did an excellent job, and also to our in-house support group. So to all of you, thank you very, very much. Best of luck, everybody, and thank you.